The Triangle is a high-frequency bus route connecting Canterbury and the towns of the north coast such as Whitstable and Herne Bay in a gigantic loop. The route is normally run with some decent Enviro 400 MMCs, although these are just from Stagecoach's regular fleet and thus are not particularly special. The service runs every 15 minutes, providing a relatively quick and easy connection between these extremely interdependent but badly connected conurbations. It tries to relieve the congestion on the roads between Canterbury and the north coast of Kent, since they are notoriously congested and slow, especially in the rush hours. This service helps to alleviate the congestion by encouraging people to ditch the car and take the bus instead. There is also no rail connection between Canterbury and the north coast, since the Crab and Winkle Railway was regrettably closed in the 1930s, meaning that all traffic has to travel on the three relatively tight, minor and inadequate roads linking these three urban areas. So, recently Stagecoach published a plan to abolish the iconic and well-known brand of the Triangle and replace it with the rather boring and mundane numbers of 400, 401, 600, 601 and the 602, completely destroying the brand recognition of the route in the process. At the same time, Stagecoach are reducing the frequency of the main loop services to every 30 minutes, much less than the every 15 minutes they currently are. At the same time, the services are being made much more complicated, with many more deviations and diversions on each of the different replacement services, with the 602 diverging to Belting, the 401 diverting to the University of Kent, compared to currently where almost every bus which runs the same consistent route throughout the day. The current Triangle route is going to be split into two numbers, the 600 between Canterbury and Greenhill via Herne Bay, and the 400 passing the University but deviating to Estuary View. These routes use mostly the same route as the current Triangle, albeit much less frequent, with them only running every 30 minutes, but they are also introducing three new routes to make up for the loss in frequency. The first one of these is the 401, which follows the existing route of the Triangle, including the University of Kent deviation as far as Tankerton, where it terminates, and the next one is the 601, which runs the same route as the current Triangle, but terminates early at C Street in Herne Bay. Lastly, the 602, which will replace the number 6 and run from Canterbury to Herne, and then deviate towards Broome and Beltinge before joining back with the rest of the routes and terminating at the railway station. One of the biggest impacts from these changes is the reduction of frequency between Whitstable and Herne Bay from a very frequent every 15 minutes to a pretty lousy every 30-minute service. A more qualitative impact of this change is the complete abandonment of the Triangle brand and identity, with it being replaced by 5 soulless numbers. I think this is at odds with Canterbury Council's bus-first objectives, which I assume means that they would want bus services to be easier to use and more attractive, rather than more complicated, less frequent, and harder to use. These plans are opposed to by the locals, who are mostly unhappy about having their direct service between Herne Bay and Whitstable cut to every 30 minutes. The residents previously served by the number 6 are unhappy with their service going from half-hourly to hourly, and most people agree it's pretty confusing for the bus number to change halfway around a route. It has even been reported in the local newspaper Kent Online. While these changes are broadly negative and goes against the attempts by the industry to try and attract riders through providing a better service, there have been a few good things to say about these changes. A bus service to Estuary View has been wanted for a very long time by local residents, and it is good that they are now getting that. But it didn't require a complete destruction of one of the best bus routes in Kent. Simultaneously, the reliability of the Triangle has not exactly been the best recently, with many buses being delayed or cancelled due to congestion. Sadly, the dropping of the Triangle brand has been a long time coming. It first came when the colourful and unique Triangle livery was replaced with the standard Stagecoach blue and yellow. This was a big step backwards. The Triangle should be a special route with its own identity, promoting how it is a premium frequent bus with a similar service to what a train would provide. I am not a designer, but I would try and make the livery bright and eye-catching, incorporating the green and blue from the Triangle logo, and maybe some yellow for Stagecoach brand, if they continue running the service, with a similar look to the excellent Canterbury Park and Ride livery. While I would not consider myself a bus expert, I know enough to make some suggestions. My first suggestion would be for the operator to purchase some high-quality electric buses. On the topic of the interior, I think it should be designed in a similar way to the Whichway in Lancashire or other Transdev routes, although maybe not quite as extravagant. But instead of the orange and black aesthetic, I would go for a green and blue aesthetic, again to match with the logo. The interior should have charging sockets so people can charge their devices while on the move. It could have table seats so people can sit in groups and face each other, waste bins for litter, LED lighting which shifts colour throughout the day, passenger information displays so people know what the stop is that they're at and have information about their journey, and a relaxing atmosphere to ensure passengers have a comfortable and relaxing journey. So not your usual bus interior, and we'll try and make the interior feel closer to a train rather than a bus. Most buses in the UK have terrible integration with other modes of transportation. For example, bus and train timetables hardly ever match, meaning connections can be a pain. We also have no integrated ticketing, meaning that separate tickets have to be bought for trains and buses for a single journey, just making public transportation even less attractive for both budgetary reasons and convenience reasons. To solve this, I would get the bus operators and railway companies to work together. Blasphemous, I know. Bus times should be shown inside of train stations, as well as announcements of local departures. As well as this, I would create a pay-per-mile multimodal ticketing system, which would utilise a contactless debit card or smart card to allow people to tap on and off any mode of transport, and have their fare automatically calculated in a fair and easy to understand way. Since the further you go, the more you get charged. It's so simple, but this is mostly a larger scale change than just the triangle. Although, since it is a premium service, it should be one of the first bus routes to accept this. The 4 buses an hour frequency is excellent. I really do not think this needs increasing, but what I do think needs to happen is the introduction of an express service, which do not stop at minor stops. These services could only stop at Canterbury bus station, a single stop centrally in Whitstable, Tankerton, Herne Bay and Herne. As well as these stops, they would also stop at all railway stations along the route, including Surrey and Canterbury East. These would run once an hour on top of the 4 stopping services. This would take the pressure off the regular stopping service, while also making it more attractive for people taking a trip from the north coast to ditch the car and take the bus instead. It is very important that infrastructure is improved to allow for a better service. This includes painting more bus lanes and slip lanes along the route to allow buses to bypass traffic where the width of road allows, or even widening the road to allow bus lanes to be instated. For example, the whole of the 2 or more lane section of the Canterbury Ring Road should have bus lanes installed, even if this would mean that in some places cars would only get a single lane in each direction. But this would be worth it for buses getting priority. As well as this, bus priority signals are important. These are traffic lights which, when they detect a bus approaching, automatically change and give priority to waiting buses, and thus making buses the faster option compared to driving. This is not a new idea. In fact, some have already been allegedly installed in Canterbury on the New Dover Road, although I am yet to experience these working as promised. I think these should be installed on the exit and entrance to the bus station, as this is the centre of bus activity in the city and would likely have the biggest input there. While it comes to bus stops, the busiest stop should have a proper shelter with a real bench, passenger information screens, and a timetable. At in more minor stops there should be a QR code with a link to a simple to read live bus times, but otherwise it should be a regular bus stop. It is a massive shame that Stagecoach has decided to end one of the most famous routes in Canterbury, being used by hundreds of thousands of the district's residents due to its frequent, premium and recognisable nature. It is one of the few routes Stagecoach can be proud of and is a step backwards to end it and replace it with 5 routes that adds to the confusion of bus services. This is especially frustrating when elsewhere in the country and world, local transport is on the up, new services are being introduced, and new comfortable vehicles and increasing passenger numbers. But I think we can fix this. The triangle has so much potential, linking 3 urban areas with a combined population of 150,000 people. It has the second highest population of any district in Kent and thus deserves an amazing service linking its 3 main areas, which depend greatly on each other for housing, education, shopping and more, but have extremely lacking transport links.